So that's some news to wake up to, huh? Hey, my name is Jude, and WWE has officially released Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt. Now, when I woke up to this news, a lot of emotions ran through my head. There was shock, anger, surprise, disappointment, a lot of things. It's just... it's just mind-boggling that WWE has released one of the most creative wrestling minds that we have seen in a very, very long time. Now, this news just came out a couple of hours ago, and one of the big reasons that's been floating around, as per wrestling reports, is that Bray Wyatt has been released by WWE due to budget cut reasons. Personally, that is complete BS, because WWE is generating record profits at this time, so whatever amount of money they were paying the guy, they could have easily made that back tenfold in the long term because of how talented he is. Personally, I think there are two reasons as to why Bray Wyatt was released. Reason one is that Bray Wyatt asked for his release personally, because I still think he's going through mental health issues resulting from the death of his close friend, John Huber, aka Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper, from last year. And if that's the case, I hope that Wyndham Rotunda gets better soon. And the second reason is, I just think Bray Wyatt has just had enough with WWE of just horribly mistreating his wrestling character for the past 8 years? Yeah, 8 years. Well, technically he was hired by WWE in 2009, but he created the Bray Wyatt character around 2013, 14? Whatever. Either way, he was on WWE main roster TV for 8 years, I think, as the Bray Wyatt character. And through that entire run, he has just been horribly mishandled. So with that being said, I want to go through Bray Wyatt's WWE career and how they horribly mistreated the Bray Wyatt character. So the Bray Wyatt character was developed in 2012 by Wyndham Rotunda himself, and the character was portrayed as this sort of evil but charismatic cult leader. The character was inspired by backwoods cults, and I think Bray Wyatt himself has taken inspirations from Charles Manson and Waylon Mercy in developing this character. Bray Wyatt made his official debut in 2012 in FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling, which later turned into NXT. And once it turned into NXT, he recruited two followers in Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. Together with Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, Bray Wyatt dubbed the trio as the Wyatt family. They were having a decent run in NXT until they were eventually called up to the main roster in 2013. So Bray Wyatt had a decent start on the main roster. He feuded with Kane in a, well, horrible match at SummerSlam. I think it was like a Ring of Fire match or something. It was bad, but he beat Kane, so that's fine. After that, the Wyatt family started to slowly tear through the roster, and then they got into a feud with Daniel Bryan, one of the more popular wrestlers in 2013. And during that feud, Bray Wyatt actually indoctrinated Daniel Bryan. It was a bit weird at first because Daniel Bryan was going through this rise to the top storyline and trying to take down the evil corporate faction, the Authority, and then all of a sudden he just segued into a feud with Bray Wyatt. But it helped Bray Wyatt in establishing his mind game tactics and how he is so charismatic that he could indoctrinate anybody in WWE to join him, even as someone as strong and popular as Daniel Bryan. However, the indoctrination didn't last too long, for like 2 weeks, I think, so I guess in the long run, it was kind of pointless. But it did lead to Bray Wyatt wrestling Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view in 2014, and that match was freaking awesome. Bray Wyatt tore Daniel Bryan apart, and in the end, he beat Daniel Bryan clean. No shenanigans, no nothing. He beat him by himself, clean as a whistle. That was cool. It established that Bray Wyatt was not only a dangerous character outside the ring, but in the ring as well. The Wyatt family then went on to feud with the Shield faction, culminating in one of the, honestly, best wrestling matches that I've ever seen. Then after beating the Shield, Bray and his minions went into a feud with John Cena, the superhero of WWE. Bray wanted to show the world that Cena's heroism act was just this facade characteristic that was covering these era of lies, while also trying to convert Cena into a monster. And the initial build-up was actually pretty good. Bray Wyatt was playing mind games with John Cena. Cena was actually treating Bray as a credible threat, which he has never done in a while. So that's really cool. And since the build up to this match was really good, we were all thinking this might be the time that Cena will actually put over a new talent in a very, very good way, and thus make Bray Wyatt into a superstar, right? Wrong. John Cena, like he always does, overcame the monster, and he beat Bray Wyatt clean as a whistle with no problems. 1, 2, 3. And essentially all of Bray Wyatt's momentum was just killed, just like that. So the feud between Bray Wyatt and John Cena kept going even though John beat the monster clean already. They had another match at Extreme Rules, a steel cage match which Bray won, but due to the help of a child, it was weird. Then the two had a rubber match at Payback. It was a last man standing match to which Cena won again. In this one feud, John Cena defeated Bray Wyatt twice. Why? And from this point, WWE put Bray Wyatt through this horrible booking formula. He goes up against a credible threat. He cuts the same spooky promo how he's the eater of worlds. And he's gonna beat them because he is the face of fear. Man. And the WWE universe are my fireflies. Man. Like seriously, that was the same damn promo he cut for the next 5 years following that Cena loss. Bray would then go on to lose to that credible wrestler. They repeated this formula throughout 2014 to 2018, and just from the top of my head, here are the list of wrestlers that Bray Wyatt lost to. So he lost to Cena, and then he lost to Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, The Undertaker, Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose again, The Undertaker and Kane, Kane again, Randy Orton, Matt Hardy, and Finn Balor. Bray had 10 rivalries and he lost every single one of them. So after all that crap, Bray Wyatt took some time off in the summer of 2018. Then he returned in the spring of 2019 and he came back with a completely different character. He came back as this creepy Mr. Rogers type of character, hosting his own show called the Firefly Funhouse. And with Firefly Funhouse Bray came an alter ego called The Fiend. The Fiend is this monstrous, demonic character, and it was a physical and psychological manifestation of the trauma that Bray Wyatt has suffered from all of those losses those past 5 years. So Bray essentially reinvented his whole persona, and the fans were super into it. A bunch of Firefly Funhouse video segments played throughout the year of 2019, just showing off how creepy yet charismatic Bray Wyatt is. Those segments also teased that demonic Fiend character, telling everyone that one day Bray will let the Fiend in. And eventually he unleashed the Fiend. At SummerSlam 2019, he took on one of his old rivals, Finn Balor, and the Fiend destroyed Finn in like a minute or two. The Fiend made his mark at SummerSlam, and all the fans were super intrigued with Bray Wyatt once again. The Fiend went on to essentially assassinate WWE legends like Mick Foley, Jerry Lawler, Kurt Angle. All the while, Firefly Funhouse Bray was still doing his creepy video segments, and it was awesome. Bray was getting super popular with the wrestling fans again. So of course, WWE took Bray Wyatt and once again screwed him over. They took the Fiend and turned him babyface? Even though he's a creepy monster heel, but I guess since the fans were super behind the character, WWE thought, okay, they like him, so we should turn him into a good guy, right? No! But they did it anyway, and they put the Fiend into a feud with the Universal Champion at the time, Seth Rollins, which led to a Hell in a Cell match, and it was one of the worst matches ever. It was a horrendous match, and both Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins suffered huge from that. The feud continued on from there, with Bray Wyatt finally winning the Universal title in Saudi Arabia, of all places. He then defended the title against The Miz at TLC, then Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble, and Bray lost the title to Oldberg at Saudi Arabia. God damn it. Once again, WWE was just jerking Bray Wyatt around, and it was immensely frustrating. But then, Bray Wyatt and The Fiend got into a feud with John Cena at WrestleMania 36, with Bray blaming John Cena for all those past several years of loss and trauma. It all started with that one loss to John Cena at WrestleMania 30, and so Bray wanted to seek vengeance. So the two men clashed at WrestleMania 36 in one of the most unique matches I have ever seen. A Firefly Funhouse match, a pre-recorded cinematic match, and it's really hard to explain, you have to watch it. The match was essentially a rundown of John Cena's entire career, and Bray was just completely roasting Cena all throughout. And in the end, The Fiend murdered John Cena. It was a weird but yet decisive victory, and that made The Fiend look credible once again. So in typical fashion, WWE took that regained momentum and flushed it down the tube. He went into a boring feud with Braun Strowman, which culminated in Bray winning the Universal Championship, only to quickly lose it to the returning Roman Reigns. Then after that, The Fiend went into a storyline with Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. During the feud, Bray Wyatt was playing these stupid, cheesy-ass mind games with Randy Orton. It was really lame. The Fiend also played mind games with Alexa Bliss and ultimately turned her over to his side. That was intriguing, but as the months went on, it looked as though WWE was slowly transferring Bray Wyatt's Fiend character and Firefly Funhouse character over to Alexa Bliss, which was very troubling. While this is going on, Bray had this weird Firefly Inferno match with Randy Orton, which ended with The Fiend getting set on fire and disappearing for a couple of weeks. Why are we doing this to Bray? Alexa then took Bray Wyatt's place and started feuding with Orton during his absence, until The Fiend returned with this weird but also cool looking burnt look. Then a rematch was set between Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton at WrestleMania 37. And instead of having Bray Wyatt completely destroy Randy Orton and reinvigorating himself, once again, WWE, just like last time, did the complete opposite and buried Bray Wyatt. Randy Orton defeated The Fiend in about 5 to 6 minutes, and after the match, Alexa Bliss essentially took The Fiend's powers completely. Then the next night on Raw, Alexa Bliss stated that she no longer needed The Fiend or Bray Wyatt because she essentially took both of their powers. And then Firefly Funhouse Bray said he's done with Alexa Bliss and he's off to a fresh new start. Then Bray took some time off from TV to cope with the mental health issues he's been suffering after the recent death of his close friend John Huber, aka Luke Harper, which then led to his recent release. And now, here we are. Bray Wyatt's entire WWE career was just filled of just horrible mismanagement and mistreatment of the Bray Wyatt character. And it sucked because there was so much potential, but they just kept screwing him around over and over and over again. To this day, we don't know why. Now a lot of wrestling fans are saying, oh, Bray should go to AEW, he should go to AEW. That's the usual reaction of wrestling fans whenever they release a talented WWE star that's been horribly mistreated. But in this case, I 1000% agree. AEW must hire Bray Wyatt ASAP. The guy is super talented, extremely creative, and can make any wrestling company a ton of money. But that all depends on the man behind the Bray Wyatt character himself, Wyndham Rotunda. If he just wants to take a break from wrestling and just sort out his mental issues, then I'm 1000% on board of that, and I hope he gets better. But if he wants to wrestle again, that would be awesome. Because I would love nothing more than for Bray Wyatt to join AEW or any other wrestling company, become a huge star, and throw all of that success right back into Vince McMahon's face. And just be like, hey old man, this is what you've been missing out on all this time. I hope you're happy. So, those are my thoughts on poor Bray Wyatt. If you guys have any thoughts, feel free to lay them down in the comment section below. But that's all I have right now. Until the next video, be well, be safe, and be happy. See ya.